there is a lot more intelligence in the world than the one that we use collectively for our innovation processes. That's because we think of innovation in terms of individual brains, perhaps supported by some artificial intelligence. Instead, we should think about advanced technologies to augment our collective intelligence and build superminds. Superminds is a concept envisioned at MIT, and you'll find it in many examples around you already. I'm going to start with two quotes. The first one is from Edward Olson, who said that the problems of our society stem from the fact that we have Paleolithic brains, medieval institutions, and godlike technologies, and anything from climate change to populism comes from that. The second is a classic quote from Einstein, who said that the problems that we have were generated by intelligence and thinking that was inferior to the intelligence that is needed to solve them today. And so superminds are an attempt to get to that new level of intelligence that needs to solve the problems that we have today. For a second, let's think about what nature would do. Nature doesn't have a brain. It's a system that has been able to survive and adapt remarkably well over billions of years. Well, this is what nature does. Nature builds organic superminds. Wildebeest and zebra, for example, migrate together because they're synergistic. They have senses and powers that are complementary to each other. Ants do incredible things. They have very small brains, but collectively they can build infrastructures and solve complex logistical problems. And even amoebas at the lower end of the spectrum have found a way of collaborate to be more effective together. A natural supermind leverages a complex system. Think about the example of trees. Trees are not treated by nature in isolation. Look at this. This is Pando. This is an aspen colony that has been around for 80,000 years. It's one of the longest surviving organisms in the world, has been able to adapt to varying conditions, and it's literally one tree. This is the incredible thing that nature does. Nature operates as a system. Think about those trees. They have networks of roots. Some people call it the wood wide web. And those wooden networks are facilitated by mycelia. Mycelia are really mushrooms. They help the tree absorb substances, and the tree uses the mycelia to transmit information across the network, to be able to sense the environment and react to it in a way that makes the tree structures collectively more adaptive. What could we do with a deliberately engineered, decentralized network that uses bigger brains and better connectivity and better machines to make it all work? As it turns out, we are already doing quite a few things. The largest encyclopedia is not the Encyclopedia Britannica anymore, and it is based on this principle. So Wikipedia is a network of people enabled by connections that rely on technology to happen. The largest database in the world is not in any mainframe, but is really in Google, which really harvests the power of billions of people every day going through the web, making choices, and showing what is most relevant. And that enables the ability of an algorithm to organize the knowledge. The largest entertainment network uses a similar organizational principle. It is not Hollywood anymore. It is something like YouTube, or maybe, at some point, even TikTok. Supply and demand of creativity balance itself out through a platform that enables collaboration as well as incentives. And one of the world's largest operating systems uses a similar principle, Linux, that powers anything from your phone to satellites above our head. And out there are hundreds of other examples, from citizen science to hedge funds to enterprise innovation, to the support of healthcare of people, to military intelligence. The key principle is about the network of knowledge and the ability to connect the dots. That is a simple principle, and it really applies up and down the chain. In the human brain, that connects nodes so that you can make decisions based on external stimuli. To individual companies, it's an actual network diagram of a company that is involved in technology innovation. And the colors are the different departments and the different people. To networks of communities, this, for example, is the network of FabLab makerspaces. To industrial networks, this is the work from Cesar Hidalgo that mapped industrial networks connectivity. All of them, all these examples, show that there are networks that interact and provide feedback to each other. So one of the largest problems that we have at hand now could potentially be solved with a supermind. The invention to innovation to impact flow is too slow in a number of sectors. That is due largely to the fact that the spread of practical knowledge from experimentation to proof of concept to early commercial availability and then wide commercial availability of new technologies and then to mass adoption follows flows that are organic, that are largely dictated by historical ways of learning. I think we can do better. I think we can cut at least 70% of the time. And actually, for some of the biggest problems that we have, like climate change, we don't have all that much time. We cannot just sit on the knowledge that somebody somewhere in the world has for long enough until somebody else figures out how to apply it. What can we do to shorten the cycle? Well, build superminds. Surface the knowledge, connect the people, make sure that those utilities enable those networks out there to operate as a collective intelligence. So how do we do this? The question will be how to build a supermind, and I'll talk about it in a separate video. But for now, it's sufficient to say that a supermind needs to do 4 things. First, it needs to deliberately engineer a network structure. Networks can be very large. People and machines on those networks may find it hard to connect with each other. So that's the first job in building a supermind. The second part is setting goals and incentive to align the network towards a common goal. The third aspect is providing information feeders, because networks can become quite insular, and it's important to force some external breathing into those structures. And fourth, provide a collaboration environment that makes the interoperability between nodes, between people, as seamless as possible. There are quite a few resources, including the next video in the series, but you can find them on the web. Until then, I will leave you with this. Solve tomorrow's problems with tomorrow's intelligence. Go build superminds.